You're Rick, right? I'm Negan.
Ladies and gentlemen, you're listening to Journey into Comics, a podcast about comic books, video games, movies, television, and everything nerd, with your hosts, Nate Phillips, Brandon Stone, and Shuddy Boy.
You know you're one bad day away from being me.
Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to another action-packed episode of Journey into Comics. I'm your host, Nate Phillips, and for the first time in like 7 or 8 episodes, I'm without Brando this week. He's actually in bed already, but we have a very special episode planned today. To start, we're going to bring back somebody who's already been on Journey into Comics once. So first and foremost, Ben Kreger, welcome back to Journey into Comics.
Thank you. It's great to be here.
How have you been in the 6 or 8 or 10 months, however long it's been since we last spoke with you?
Busy.
Busy.
Always busy.
Today, though, in Journey into Comics history, you brought someone extra special along with you for this one. I'm going to let you introduce him.
All right. I brought my cohort in this whole Black Suit of Death thing, Mr. Ed Ellsworth.
Ed, welcome to the show.
Thanks. Glad to be here.
Cool. Yeah, Ben and I had talked, I know before the first time he was on, and then a little bit on the other side of you guys talking about the relaunch, that we wanted to try our best to get you on to discuss this, because as he said, you guys are cohorts in this, so you want to speak about your creation together, I would assume.
Absolutely.
And it makes it better, too, because now we get to learn even deeper into the reason why this story is so incredible. So to kick things off, first of all, guys, you could not have picked a cooler day to relaunch the Black Suit of Death Kickstarter. April 19th just so happens to be my birthday. So all I want for my
just for you,
and all I want for my birthday this year, 2 things, and I don't mean to get at all political. Bernie Sanders win in New York. You guys funding your Kickstarter within 24 hours.
Yes.
Right. The primary's on that day, isn't it?
It is. It absolutely is. It's a very strange day that it fell on, right before 420. So, it should be a good, joyous occasion. I hope I have a great birthday. So let's get down to it. Ben, we know your story. We know how you came up into finding comics, your heavy influences, a lot of, being deeply involved in the comics in the early 90s and evolving into becoming a creator on your own regard.
Yeah.
I kind of want to learn about Ed and his story, though. So, Ed, I'm going to let you take it away for a second. Just kind of introduce yourself, give us a little backstory. I'll start popping questions your way. I'm really interested to learn how you got where you are today.
Well, I've always been kind of a creative freak. Ben and I have known each other for a long time, since back in the 90s. And
Terribly long.
we, we're both kind of creative people, and we hooked up doing creative projects back then. And I know Ben told you all about the horrible amateur films we tried to make, which is kind of the origin story of our comic. But getting into comics as a creative outlet is something Ben really got me into a few years ago. I've always been a writer. I never completed a novel. I've always started them, and then they never pan out. It's a huge dedication to complete a project of that size. But so when Ben asked if we wanted to do Black Suit of Death as a comic, I was like, well, I don't really know that much about comics. I'm a fan of superheroes and everything, but I hadn't had any real background in it. So I said, sure, we can do that. But you're going to have to pretty much handle making sure the script is formatted the way a comic book should be formatted, and it kind of went from there. Since that time, obviously gotten more into comic books. The funny thing is, though, like, as I've branched out and started really appreciating this art form, I really haven't been able to get into the titles that a lot of other people get into. Like, I've enjoyed the Marvel movies. I enjoyed Avengers and Iron Man. Thor, not so much. But as far as the comics go, like, I'm just not going to pick up issue number 1000 of Batman or X-Men number 9,000,000, whatever they're on. There's too much legacy there, and the reading order is too complicated. It's just, I don't know where to start, and so instead what I've ended up doing is really discovering a lot of other indie titles, since we're indie, and I've found a lot of titles on Kickstarter, and it's been really fun, connecting with other creators and seeing things. They're issue 1 because it's their first comic book, and you get to see them now, and hopefully they'll take off, and you'll get to say, well, I was a fan from when no one knew who they were.
You're like, I've got that exclusive Kickstarter cover, motherfuckers.
That's right.
So it's interesting. You didn't really read comics growing up. You were more the kind of the creative writer. You were writing constantly, probably writing in notebooks. I know Brando, co-host, was also very much like that. It has a million different ideas, a million different stories he could tell, and he would dive deep into them. And as you said, it's a massive undertaking and a heavy commitment to really
it is
to go full on into a world and see it fleshed out all the way and see your ideas fully actualized. So I'm sure it's got to be interesting for you now. You've written some stuff. You guys have come up with the Black Suit of Death together. How many issues have you guys written so far? How deep into this thing are we?
We have. Well, Ben, I'll let you answer that.
Well, that's a good question, because we had originally written almost 6 issues, and since then we've actually the past few months we've been reworking everything, because we originally wrote all this stuff back in like 2009, 2010, a long time ago, and we've learned a lot since then. So we polished up issue 1. We found some things that we wanted to add, and we went from a 24-page comic to 28, so so much more cutting back and making the Kickstarter cheaper. And we
tried.
Yeah, we tried. We really did. We cut out 4 pages and then added 8. It was crazy.
Hey, sometimes, man, it's all about the content.
Yeah.
And if you guys have something that's fully fleshed out, I mean, just saying, if one of the extra 8 pages is you guys using the Black Suit of Death to kill off the team of Journey into Comics, that shit's hilarious. I mean, sure, have that, But so I want to ask Ed this question: seeing you guys are writing these issues, Dexter's been doing the art. Is it crazy for you to see these ideas actualized in that art form now that you're so far into this?
It is crazy. Every time I see a new page, like, it's even better than I imagined it. Dex is doing an amazing job on the pages we've already had completed. And I don't know if you saw it earlier today. He just kind of was inspired on his own to just do, I guess it would be called a pinup, but it's just an image of the Black Suit of Death, riding a horse, and it's just this incredible imagery, and just seeing it come to life is a real thrill.
It's actually a homage, or excuse me, I always screw up that word because it has a stupid H in front of it. It doesn't belong there. An homage.
Yeah, it's okay.
We did an homage to Frank Frazetta's Death Dealer, the evil-looking knight riding a black horse.
Didn't Danzig write on that?
I don't remember.
I have those issues, the Death Dealer. That's weird. And I feel like that Glenn Danzig has a writing credit in there somewhere.
That
but-
wouldn't surprise me.
But I did see Dexter's splash page that he did post today, and it looked awesome. And I was just like, yes, we're close. Like,
Yeah.
Yeah.
It definitely inspired me seeing that today. I was like, oh, and I get to talk to Ben and Ed about this stuff. Like, oh, let's get here. So, for those of the people who don't know, and I don't know who wants to take the reins on this, we've covered it once, but a little bit of refresher. We need to tell these guys who may be just listening to our show for the first time what the Black Suited Death comic is all about, and then we'll kind of dive into the nitty-gritty details, maybe talk about some of those different tiers you guys have coming up, and then we're going to keep talking about more of the journey into this world.
Okay.
So just to start, just not to throw anybody under the bus, but I don't know if Ed or I guess you guys can just kind of collaboratively explain this together, but just give the audience kind of what the Black Suited Death is all about. What's the story and the premise of this comic?
The Black Suit of Death is a non-supernatural take on the Grim Reaper. We're delving into the character of the myth. It's a satirical sci-fi horror comic that basically follows an alien biomechanoid suit, which I'm using, big fancy sci-fi terms there, that comes to Earth and is responsible for all the Grim Reaper mythos. And the prelude book, Black Suit of Death, Ides of March, now available on Comixology, deals with the origin of the suit itself. And the ongoing series, which we're producing on with the help of Kickstarter, follows the modern day pilot is what we call them, the people inside the suit. Follows the modern day pilot Ed Grimes, who is a depressed college student who unfortunately attempts suicide only to stumble upon the Grim Reaper suit and become the new Black Suit of Death. And the Ides of March was more just balls to the wall type fun, whereas the ongoing series is a little more character driven. I'm stumbling all over my words. Ed,
No,
want to add anything to that?
No, I think you did better than you think you did. But yeah, basically, this on another planet called Utopia 9, and it's Utopia 9 because Utopia 1 through 8 have been destroyed. So Utopia 9 has solved all the problems like disease and famine and stuff like that. So the only downside is that now overpopulation has become an issue, and it's a really highly technically advanced society. So their technology needs to keep all these people alive and to keep everyone happy and to keep it a utopia. It require a great deal of energy, and that is sort of what creates the need for the Black Suit of Death. They ask this scientist, Dr. Sayetson, to solve the problem, and the suit is his solution. Basically, the suit allows whoever's wearing it to basically kill the unworthy and harvest their life energy and feed it into the planetary battery. And the council doesn't like that so much. And this is what takes place in Ides of March. I don't want to spoil it for anyone, but it's pretty integral to the setup of the rest of the series.
Absolutely.
So the suit ends up on Earth. Long story short, and that's where it passes from person to person through a lot of different circumstances throughout history, and we also have some ideas down the road on really playing with that sort of aspect of the story.
I mean, I think it's amazing because with this, having the suit essentially be passed down, if you will, and it being stuck on Earth, you guys can essentially utilize your story and at some point time travel. Hey, we'll go back to the Kennedy assassination. Maybe he was there. You guys can go anywhere in time and space, and that's actually really kind of an awesome thing. obviously with the story you're telling, you want to keep it more focused on Earth, not doing a bunch of really over the top sci-fi stuff, because you're kind of telling more of a horror story. I would assume is kind of the perspective
Yeah.
this book is told on, is kind of more dark and grim.
But it's interesting. We had kind of set out to just write something fun and funny with sort of a dark undertones, and that's really what the Ides of March is. And we never really set out to write a horror comic per se, but it's been really well received by people who like horror, and people see it as part of the horror genre. And horror is one of my favorite genres, so I'm glad about that. And it's part sci-fi, part horror. But yeah,
pretty absurd comedy too. So it took like years to try and like really figure out what it was, because it's just a blending of genres and whatnot.
Yeah, it seems
exactly.
It seems like you guys have really a great vessel of an idea. You have something that you took from your youth. You're revitalizing it into this story. This story can go a ton of different really interesting places. Do you guys think that maybe, years before, let's say, the internet and Kickstarter, that this would have been something that maybe was a game changer in comics? With your I guess that's a question that's a little bit humbling to answer, but it seems to me like you guys have something that's very unique, is kind of where I'm coming from. I hear your ideas, I hear the story, I read the Ides of March, and I get this sense that there's something you guys can really do special with this story. So, I mean, obviously your influences throughout history. My question is, Ed, what writers, not just, I mean, obviously you didn't really get down with a lot of comic books, but what writers in general, authors, novelists, inspired you to be who you are now?
Stephen King is probably the one that comes to mind first. I've read a lot of his books. Fantasy authors, Tom Heinlein, a fantasy author named Robin Hobb, for novel writing, is one of my favorite novelists. It's more of the fantasy genre. Brent Weeks, I've been a fan of him. And there's another author, I'm trying to remember his name. I'll probably think of it later. But those are a couple of the authors. And I've also, I've always been a fan of sci-fi in movies. So I've been influenced storytelling-wise by movies probably as much as by literature. Charlie Kaufman, I think, is one of my favorite screenwriters. Like Eternal Sunshine and stuff like that.
That was an excellent flick. So you said movies also inspired you. That's awesome, because that's where I get inspired a lot, is from visual media. Like, I like reading. I enjoy reading. I love reading like the Walking Dead comics and stuff. But there's just something about visually seeing it that's awesome. So that leads me to my next question. And boy, oh boy, am I maybe jumping the shark here, but let's talk reality. Would there ever be an instance where maybe this becomes a TV show or a movie, your Black Suit of Death? I mean,
I hope so.
how beautiful and full circle would that be? I mean, you guys started this as something you were filming and telling stories that way, and evolved it.
Very poetic if that ever happened. I would just be like, it started out as a no budget film, and that was one of the reasons why it never really got anywhere, because it existed pre Kickstarter, pre crowdfunding by like a couple years, and YouTube was an infant then, and it wasn't a huge thing, and so we didn't have the kind of money to throw into it. I'm sure we threw all our pocket change at it as we could, but it just never got going, because
we were using like a VHS camcorder and like 2 VCRs to edit things together. It was kind of just our technology, our foundation was a mess. We had nothing to work with. So
to see it come full circle would be amazing. It's just I just hope we can write a story intriguing enough to do that.
And I'm sure it's one step at a time, obviously. But and you guys were saying about the equipment and stuff. You had the quality when you were doing this way back, barely predating, YouTube. But there's something to be said that's very, very charming and compelling. That you guys had enough passion, and think about it like this: you guys had enough passion that you had a story, and you said, "I don't fucking care if it looks like if it was made with a $1 bill, like." I want to tell my story. And that's the most important thing. You put your passion into doing it as best you could. So now you've moved into this new medium where you can really expand your ideas and really visually captivate people. And I'm really excited for what you guys have coming. So by the time this drops, it'll be a week from this day because it'll be out tomorrow, Tuesday. Your guys' Kickstarter is going to come out for the Black Suit of Death. And like I said, we're going to plug it all over Journey into Comics. People are going to be like, okay, we get it. We should check this out. Look, I backed you guys last time, and I was like, let's do this, and it barely missed the goal. You guys were like, what, under like $300 from hitting the goal?
Oh, no.
Was
not
it
that close?
It was further out?
We were 42%.
Yeah.
I believe pretty sure that's what it was. Double check right now. But yeah, it was still a pretty impressive amount because we need about around $5,000 to pay for the art, and we reached 2,417 of our original goal was 5,639, and since then Ed and I have been able to dump can't remember, I ran the numbers yesterday but I already forgot, somewhere between $700 and $900 into the project since then. Well, because of the pages that we that we added to the script, we're still around $5,000, and I'm leaving kind of the math for the last thing to put in the Kickstarter. Because right now we're doing all the images and all the words and building the Kickstarter, putting the finishing touches on it. I haven't quite done the math. I like to postpone that until my wife, who's an accountant, can run the numbers for me. And
make sure it's right.
Make sure everything's right. But we're aiming to keep it around 5,000, if at all possible, to cover all the shipping and boards.
Under 6 at least.
Yeah.
And I know last time you guys had discussed having everybody sign a copy of the book for certain tiers. Guessing that's probably going to come back again.
So Dexter lives in the Philippines, as does our new colorist. I don't want to screw up his name. I'm going to try and say it. Brian Magne. I keep meaning to ask him how it's pronounced. I need to do that. But he's this amazing colorist, also in the Philippines. So what we would have to do is we'd have to ship it over there to get them to sign it, and then ship it back. And so that alone, I think, is somewhere around $80
for all the international shipping.
Yeah, and that's before weight.
Yeah, and you got to think, like, I've had a couple things, actually, something came from the Philippines to me today. I collect pop vinyls. I had a seller.
Yeah.
I had a seller that got me, he screwed up, and long story short, he sent me a pop that was destroyed unintentionally, and to cover it, he sent me a different pop that I thought was awesome, and I got it today from the Philippines. And I will say it takes like 2 or 3 weeks to get back from the Philippines usually. Yeah. That's crazy.
Customs takes forever.
It does. They take so long. It's insane. The first time this guy shipped to me, I thought he had ripped me off because it was like a month I didn't hear anything. I kept checking the tracking, and it was like left, Phil post at such and such date, and there was no additional tracking, and I was like, what the hell? And then I looked on my doorstep the very next day after I got angry, and then it was there. And I was like, oh, now I feel like a dick. I just told this guy I was angry with him. Oh, well, That doesn't do me any good.
Blame the post office.
Well, that's obvious. I mean, snail mail.
Yeah,
Drones are the wave of the future. We're gonna get all of our packages through drones.
absolutely.
That would be the coolest job on Earth. Let me just fly this drone
That-
and drop this package off, and then let me fly back to UPS and pick up another package, and then I'm gonna fly. That'd be great. Of course, then you.
Except it's probably not, that job isn't going to exist. It'll all just be
Computerized.
automatic.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yep. That's
Robots
the
are
truth.
going to take over, man.
That's right.
So let's dive into this. Last time, you guys had several tiers. I don't know if you want to reveal all of your tiers, if you want to keep some stuff surprise for when it actually launches. However you guys want to talk about it, but
We're ready to talk about the early bird specials.
then let's bring on the early bird specials. Can I get that yesterday? No? Okay.
I don't know. Well, we posted about them on Facebook and Twitter, which is where we do a lot of our communication to readers and potential readers.
Excellent. Shout out to your potential readers.
What? Such a dork. I'm in the wrong. Trying to find them because I gotta read it. I don't know. Ed, do you have it in front of you?
I can pull them up pretty quick. Yeah.
I'm totally lost here. I'm running like 5 different projects right now. I'm trying to get finished up this week, and it's ridiculous. My desktop is such a mess.
Yeah, we have. Yeah, I've got them here.
Oh, he beat me.
By like a millisecond. That was crazy.
So we set this up. I think it's going to be the first week, or maybe the first 7 or 8 days. I don't think we've set that yet, but it's going to be at least the first week if you pledge. We have a $9 level where you get PDFs of a Black Suit of Death sketchbook, along with PDF for Ides of March, and a PDF and a print copy of issue 1. And that's just for $9. And we have the $18 level in the first week. Get same stuff, PDFs of the sketchbook and Ides of March, PDF and print issue of the number 1, and author-signed print copies of Ides of March and issue 1. And then we have a $27 level, which is all the same stuff, plus signed script for issue number 1. So that has basically all the same as the $18 level, plus the script.
Yeah, and also we're doing again. We had a lot of fun last time doing a personalized Twitter thanks from Black Suit of Death himself,
Which was awesome.
So all levels will have that. Whether
it's pretty much anyone who backs is gonna get if they have a Twitter account or especially if they have a Twitter account, we can do a customized thank you graphic.
Your own personalized little BSD meme.
That's awesome. I hate Twitter because...
well,
no, let me explain. And you guys understand this because I know your Twitter isn't all one word Black Suit of Death, because guess what? That's too many fucking characters for Twitter to handle. Journey into Comics, they wouldn't let us do that. And I'm like, come on, really? Like, it's not...
Yeah.
I thought I was already following you on Twitter.
It's JIC Podcast.
I found out that I wasn't, and I finally found you.
Yeah, JIC Pod. We don't even use our Twitter. That's the truth, because I was so frustrated that the name didn't come out right. I was like, come on now. Go ahead.
We couldn't get the full Black Suit of Death on Twitter. We had to have BLK Suit of Death.
Well, it's still awesome.
It's not bad. Like, yeah, it works.
It works.
Yeah.
Once you follow the people and you just start typing black, it'll pop up and like you just click on it. So it's not terrible.
I'm excited. Let me just say, I'm excited for the early bird specials. I know what early bird tier I'll be purchasing. Hopefully everyone else will purchase that early bird $27 tier, because that sounded beautiful.
Yeah, that's a lot of fun. I've actually really liked our first drafts tend to be a little messy. And so this is draft 6, I think.
Something like
Six,
that.
6
Yeah,
plus. We call it draft 6, but
we've edited each draft who knows how many times. So.
yeah.
So it's
And
like
I think it's
6.8.
real pretty to be printed out and easy to read for people that choose the early bird $27 and get the script. So I'm very proud of that.
That's excellent. So my next question is going to come from this point of view. You guys already have me hooked on the story. I want to read this week to week. And let me say, right now, there's only a couple companies getting Nate's money for comic books. Marvel is not one of them. DC is barely one of them. And most of my money goes to Image right now.
Yeah.
So when your Kickstarter is successful and issue 1 has come out, and I have successfully helped you guys get your first issue out, and then I'm excited to read issue 2, where might I find that? Are you guys going to be able to like get the availability to be indie and published in, let's say, Midtown Comics distribution, or Mile High Comics has distribution? Do you guys have plans to try to get this?
Well, we're still working on our distribution plan. Right now, the comics are available on our store site, which is
warriorinkeeper.com/shop.
Yeah, he has to do all the websites because I always screw him up. And then, of course, they'll be available on Comixology. Ides of March is already on Comixology. There is this new thing coming out soon called Make Mine Indie, and it's going to be a catalog of independent comic books like ours, and it's actually being produced by the publisher of Alterna Comics. And it's my understanding that your books under your imprint, whatever you're using, we use Warrior Innkeeper Creative. That's my little business. We'll have a page that features all the books that you're selling and how to buy them, whether through your personal online store or Comixology or Drive-Thru Comics or whatever distribution method you're using to sell your books. And I believe, now I don't want to step over my bounds here, but I believe it's going to be sent out, or the catalog itself will be sent out or advertised to comic shops. And the idea behind that, I think, is to make independent comics easier to get a hold of, because it's very expensive to get into comic shops to begin with. And this is, I don't know, I'm really excited about it. The first one comes out this summer. The first catalog comes out this summer, and the second one comes out in the fall. And I'm in the process of submitting. That's one of the many projects I'm working on, submitting our comics for that catalog. So I think that's really interesting because it kind of allows us to get around traditional comic book distribution, which is not indie friendly.
That is very true. They definitely want to get to the bigger named publishers, your DCs, your Marvels, your Images, because then they can just buy in bulk and not have to worry about it. The nice thing though with this distribution that you guys have going on is that I can now go to my comic shop and be like, hey, I want issue 2. You're going to get this thing. Please just order it. It makes it easy for everybody. And then that'll hopefully get you guys into this comic shop. And then hopefully other people outside of just me know that they can go to their comic shops and say, hey, we want this. Bring this to us. And then they do. And then we get to see this story fleshed out. It's very exciting. It's a story that, like I said, from the first time I had you on, Ben, and all the way to now, you guys captivate me on the idea of this character that is maybe just a regular person, but it's a mech suit, and we don't know it. And I love that. I love that there's this mystery, and there's this darkness, and now you're going to be able to play your character, your suit gets to have its own kind of personality because of who's inside of it.
Yeah.
And that is beautiful because now it ever evolves. It can forever change. Hey, this guy is starting to get boring. Let's take him out of the suit.
That's kind of the idea. Is for one thing, we have 10,000 years of history to play with, which not
enough.
Plans for it, not enough. but there's like even been like future stories popping up in my head. I haven't shared any with Ed yet because they're just kernels right now, and I don't like sharing until I have a full idea.
I'm kind of the same. I'm kind of the same way.
Yeah, you have these ideas for the Utopia planets, which I'm really looking forward to seeing you build.
Is there like a Utopia 7.5, which is that shitty show that was on Fox? You know, where they're trying to live outside the bounds, but they're just on film being stupid. I was into that show for a minute, and then I was like, this is...
I'll have to look it up now.
Oh, it's terrible. It was bad. Essentially, the idea of that show was that they had live cameras on 24/7, and you could go on your app and watch the campers and shit doing stuff.
That sounds exciting.
The only thing they didn't tell people until after the show was coming out was that you were on a 6-hour time delay. So it wasn't like you were actually watching people in real time because they wanted to censor any crazy shit that might have happened. Because these are just...
takes away the whole fun of it.
Exactly. That's exactly what I said. I was like, oh, this is lame. But essentially the idea was they were put on this, deserted area, and they were going to essentially rebuild Utopia, and these individuals who were picked got to kind of help mold this new place, and it didn't really mold because it got canceled after 9 episodes. So, yeah, it was pretty piss poor. So that was my terrible joke about your awesome planet.
Kind of funny because I don't know, Ben and I both have a special dislike of reality television, and one of the lines in the intro to the prelude mentions that Utopia 9 has eliminated all of the evils of the world, like famine, disease, and reality television.
Yes.
Actually, we might have to steal that idea now. Like maybe the reason they got rid of reality television was because Utopia 7 failed in their reality television experiment. I'm all for people off.
Well, I'm glad I'm collaborating with you guys.
There you go.
You may have all of my ideas. So I got to ask, Ben will probably know this more than you, Ed, and that's okay. Ben, when you're organizing the script, is this kind of Marvel method how you guys write together, or is this more of a fleshed out, full detailed thing?
I think Ides was kind of a Marvel method because we were working with Stefano Carselli. He was the artist on that book, and at first, I signed him for like 6 pages, and then Ed and I started writing the script. And we would give Steph some ideas, and it became kind of a huge collaboration. And, it was very much, hey, Steph, can you draw this? And then we'll write words for it later. And it ended up becoming, 18, 19 pages or something like that.
Yeah.
But with the new scripts, they're actually very, very planned. We have a Black Suited Death label that contains all the characters, plot lines, plot ideas, the history of the suit, history of Utopia, the series of planets, and just everything that you could ever know about Black Suited Death is in there, so that when we're writing the script and we get a great idea, we can say, oh, well, how does this fit into the timeline? I have a pet peeve about continuity.
Oh, me too. I'm a sucker for good continuity.
Which is why DC and Marvel just haven't hurt my brain in the last couple decades.
I think that's one of the reasons I've just never been able to get into those long running titles. There's so many different writers over the years, and they reboot things and change things around, and it just bothers me too much, I think.
Yeah. And so that was the whole purpose of creating this document that contains all the answers to the questions. Of course, it's a living document. It's still being built. Ed and I use Google Docs as our processor program that we use to write on. And we can actually write on the script at the same time, which we do sometimes just to, annoy each other. It's usually one person does a go through on the script, and then the other person comes in, and we take turns plotting and doing dialogue. Ed is really good at captions. I'm always pop up on the script, see what he did, and it's always these new brilliant captions that he's got going on for characters' inner voices, and they tend to inspire a scene, and so I'll write a scene that works with the captions. Or one thing I like to do, I kind of like juxtaposition. I like to kind of mix things up. It's like you would think the captions would tell a certain story, but really what you're seeing is something completely different, and that goes along with all our jokes in the background and stuff like that. We like to mix it up. Like I said, it's a mixture of genres, and it's not your typical story, which I hope so far people seem to like. I hope that they stick with us because it's.
Hey, I mean,
most of the reviews for Ides of March were positive. I think there was only one that was sort of meh towards the whole thing. I don't think they got the humor, and that's okay. For the most part, it's been really well received.
Well, that's excellent. It seems like you guys have a kind of like a finger on the pulse. You've got your Google Docs thing going on. You guys can simultaneously write work. That's got to make it easy. You guys don't live relatively close at all, do you?
No, what is it, 800 miles, Ed?
Something like that. I live in Arizona, and he lives in Oregon, so there's we're only
he's a
on
traitor.
the same...
He left Oregon. He says, I'm sick of the rain. I'm going to go to the sun.
Yeah, enjoying those tarantulas, are we? I hate spiders, so Arizona would not be a place for me. Big bugs. I'm not a bug guy. So I live
not very many. I guess we're living in Scottsdale, so it's really urban, and you don't really see very many bugs. I guess you get out in the more rural areas and.
Well, what about on your hiking trips? You've been hiking on Saturdays lately. See anything cool out there that's creepy?
Yeah, I saw a cow skeleton.
Whoa!
Really? Like in the Old West movies?
It wasn't a whole scale. It was like a spine, and actually, I have some pictures of it. I'll send it to you.
Maybe you totally have to. That's awesome.
But yeah, it's like this huge cow remains. You could tell. I don't know how long it'd been out there, but a lot of the hiking trails are. Washes, dried up riverbeds that when it rains become rivers for a couple hours, and stuff like debris and stuff gets washed down them everywhere, which kind of actually works into the storyline for the issue number 1.
Yeah,
that's awesome. So my question then is, are you missing an opportunity here? You have pictures of a carcass or a skeleton. When do you do the Black Suit of Death was here hashtag and start posting anytime you see something like that? You take a picture and then Black Suit of Death was here, and then you
probably tomorrow or later tonight that will be the thing we'll start doing.
That's awesome, and then other people can participate as well. Anytime you see anything dead, just take a picture of it, tag us on Twitter.
That's a great idea.
Guys, I'm morbid as fuck, okay? So just heads up. I see the world in a really dark lens. So, I heard I found a skeleton of a cow, and the first thing I thought was, well, obviously this character came down and fucked this cow up. He said, okay, fine, I'll show you guys what's up. So, go ahead.
I was going to say, we do morbid.
That's good.
Morbid. We do, I like to call it, horromedy, very much inspired by, Wes Craven's type of movie where you would do these, terrible things to people and then tell a joke. And it's horrifying, but you laugh. And definitely inspired by that. Terry Gilliam's an inspiration for me. And so, this seeps into Black Suit of Death. And what I was going to say before you horribly interrupted me, so terrible. You got to stick around. You're going to stick around for issue 2. I know this, but I want your listeners to too. Issue 2 is if you're really into horror and mass carnage. That's where the Black Suit of Death first really unleashes on everybody. And we really wanted to put it all in issue 1, but like I said,
it would have been 40 pages.
Yeah. Would have been terrible. And I really want, really like building up the characters because I think that's why people stick around. Is when they identify or relate to, or what other synonyms out there are. When they understand a character, when they get involved with the character's life, that's when they tend to stick around. Even through, there's a lot of TV shows that have really great episodes, character development episodes, and then they'll have a really shitty episode, but you'll watch it because the last one made you care, and the next one's going to be good too. So, like, if you fall in love with the character, you can excuse maybe something that's not your cup of tea because the next one will be good. Got it. I don't know if I'm like making my book sound bad now.
I think your guys' book is going to be everyone's cup of tea because you're reaching a lot of different bounds. You're telling a science fiction story in some regards. You're telling a horror story in some regards. You're telling a comedy in some regards. Those are a lot of different notes to hit on, and if you guys can do it in such a nice way that it blends beautifully, don't worry, man. People are going to be all about your book. Just outside of people like me who have kind of done the research, who know what you guys have to offer, and who the comic book fans are not easily fooled. We know what we like, we know what we don't like. So if you bring something genuine to the table, there's no questions in my mind. You guys are going to do very well. So in that regard, I'm excited for what's to come for you. It's really weird, Ben, that you would bring up Wes Craven. The first time we had you on was a couple days or hours after he had passed away. And it still resonates with you how important and influential he is to you, that you, again, brought up his style and how you write today.
I think it's because I saw Nightmare on Elm Street when I was like 11 or 12, which I really think is too young. And so he's been like scarred into my brain. I'm so tempted to sing that kitty song to my children, but I hold back so far. The jump roping song.
1, 2.
It pops in my head all the time.
Freddy's coming for you.
Yeah.
Go ahead and scar your kids. So.
Well, they'll be scarred eventually.
This is why I don't have children.
I think you would be a very interesting father. I would love to see the child that comes out of you.
Wow, it would come out of him, huh?
Well, it would.
Interesting. Okay, learning something new about our new guest on this show. He's like Arnold Schwarzenegger in, what was that, Junior? Yeah, right?
I was thinking more of aliens, but sure.
Okay, that works. Oh, yeah. So the next kind of question is going to be, what's the time frame for your Kickstarter? How many weeks is this going to be up? I've not ever personally put a Kickstarter out, so I can't sit here and pretend to know the minute details of how to even make shit like that work. It's just, I can talk a lot, but that's about all I'm good at. Everything else is kind of Brandon's shtick. He knows how to.
Skill, man. Don't put yourself down. So we're gonna do the traditional 30 days.
Cool.
I'm tempted to do 36. That's mostly because that's coming from the last one. Not quite making it. I have this thing in my head like, if we just had a couple more days. But I think 30 days is pretty good. I think it's a good amount of time. And so we're going to do that. And as soon as the Kickstarter is over, our artists are kicking and screaming to get started on this. If everything goes well, I believe we could have the book out by October, November at the latest. I'm really aiming for October because that's a great month to bring out a horror book.
Absolutely.
And there is a local comic convention called Rose City Comic Con. It's in early September, but it would be nice to be able to bring like maybe a preview book to that con. And that's up in Portland, so I'm looking forward to going to that and hoping I can bring something new. Because it's been a couple years since I've had something new. So at least on the comic side, there's some commercial comics I've done, but nothing that's like my passion. And so I'm really wanting to bring something new so bad, man.
That's exciting. I think, and I'm going to ask you guys this question too, but I think with like I said, with the last Kickstarter, in some regards, it didn't really have, there were a lot of little stupid details that kind of happened to you guys, where it was like I learned about it and you guys only had like, I think 12 or 10 days left in the campaign when I had even first learned about it. So it was like, oh, we got to, backpedal and make up time. Now, I'm guessing that we're not the only podcast or any kind of media you guys have done in regards to promoting this. So how's that been? Have you guys done quite a few different shows and been on and promoted this?
A couple YouTube shows that also air here in Salem, Oregon on CCTV. And we got, I have 2 more podcasts lined up in the next week. I got to check the schedule. And we're trying to get on as many shows as possible to get this out. But yeah, one of the things that our last Kickstarter didn't have that we have now is preview pages. Like I said, we spent as much money as we possibly could to get as much art out. And I want to talk a little bit about the art. Beyond Dexter Wee and Brian Magne, we were also able to get Brett Weldelay to do the cover. And we showed people on hashtag Comic Book Hour, which is a thing every Sunday on Twitter. And we showed that there, and then we posted on Facebook. And for those of you who may not be familiar with his name, you may be familiar with his work. Brett Weldelay was fortunate enough to have one of his comics get turned into a Disney-produced movie under their Touchstone company. You remember that Bruce Willis movie, Surrogates?
Yeah, totally.
Yeah, well, Brett Weldelay did all the interiors and covers for the comic book that's based on.
That's awesome.
He's a local guy. I met him on the Northwest Comic Show, which is one of the shows that I've been on. And just talked to him about things, and he agreed to do our cover, and so that was really exciting. And by the end of this week, I should have in my hand a little cartoon that we want to put at the end of every Black Suit of Death issue. Kind of like, you remember in Spider-Man, at the end of the issue, there was always a comic book called Petey.
Yeah.
By the wonderful, amazing, talented cartoonist Fred Hembeck.
Absolutely.
Well, I met him on Facebook, and we haven't met in person yet because he lives over in New York, and I live here on the West Coast. Well, he agreed to do a comic book for us called Little BSD, and it's my understanding that it's in the mail right now and should be here by the end of the week. And I can't tell, like he hasn't scanned it or showed it to me yet. So like I'm like really, really nervous and terribly excited because I didn't know he was going to send me the original art too.
Oh, that's crazy.
And he did a Christmas card for me several years ago for my kids book, The Less Than Historical Adventures of Little Lincoln. There's a mouthful for a title.
Hey, we talked about Little Lincoln last time you were on.
Yeah.
I didn't forget.
He did a Christmas card for me, and that was just really awesome. I think he is one of the nicest guys in the industry. And I totally want to pimp him here. He sells original art on eBay. If you go to his Facebook page, Fred Hembeck, and to look him up, he's always posting what's new on eBay, and he's got some really great work. He sometimes does parody covers of famous comic books and whatnot. And he's just generally a nice guy. So I totally want to... Oh, he also has a couple books out. Go on Amazon and look up Fred Hembeck there. I don't know. I'm trying to really promote his stuff because he's just... I don't know. He's a nice dude, and I'm getting art.
I mean, he's nice, and you know, the beautiful thing... I mean, shit, this podcast is as living proof. Is the beautiful thing about the world we live in now is there are people all over the world, and you can easily get in contact with any of them. And the internet has made everyone so accessible. It's insane. Nothing is impossible.
That's a really great message to put out. I mean, just overall, we live in such a connected world now. It's amazing. I don't think I'd be able to do comics without the internet. I mean, I think I might have still tried. I'm lucky to live in a state that has an abundant amount of artists here, pros, semi-pros, and amateurs working their way towards their goals. So I think I would still try. I certainly tried in high school, so I think it was always part of me. It was just getting to that moment where it's like, yes, I have to do this.
And now you're doing it, and that's and that's the beautiful thing. You've worked towards your dreams. So let's just be. We can't be journeying into comics without being totally random. So I'm gonna throw some random stuff your guys' way. We'll start with Ed. Last movie you saw in a movie theater?
I'm trying to remember. I think it was Krampus.
Krampus, that's
I still
awesome.
need to see that. Oh, I forgot all about it.
It's great. You're gonna love it if you haven't seen it yet. I was a little skeptical because I get really irritated with all these horror movies, quote unquote horror movies that are rated PG-13.
Oh.
It just if your horror movie is PG-13, it's probably really not a horror movie. But for what it was, it's sort of a family-friendly horror. It was really well done, and it's definitely going to be added to our list of annual Christmas movies, along with Die Hard and A Christmas Story.
Oh, both classics. I would throw Elf in there too. Elf's all right. I don't know, weird, but okay. So Ben, same question. Last movie you saw in a theater?
I think it was Star Wars.
Force Awakens. Hell yeah!
I'm pretty sure it was Star Wars. Well, saw it like 3 times, so I think that's.
I have now. I mean, I saw it 3 times in theaters. I bought the Blu-ray last Tuesday. I've now seen it like 10 times.
We haven't bought it yet, but I'm sure when we do, I will watch it at least 100 times in the first month. Not necessarily of my own choosing.
I might have
a
problem.
Toddler that likes to watch movies over and over again.
I know what that's like, man. I mean, that's my whole life. The Ninja Turtles, the 1989 Batman.
Yep.
I burnt the VHSs down to the ground the amount of times I watched those over and over and over in my youth. Okay, next random thing. Ben, what's the last comic book or regular book you've read?
Oh, geez. I haven't been reading enough. Like, I get asked this a lot, and I never know how to answer it because, like, the last comic book I read was Power Rangers #1.
Awesome. I just got my...
that was, several weeks back.
I just got my Matthew Waite Borderlands comics variant 8-bit Power Ranger #2 cover. I
got the Green Ranger cover for 0 and #1.
Oh, so jealous.
But I'm finishing up a book called Enchanted. It's by Orson Scott Card. I don't follow his political beliefs.
Never heard of him, so...
He did, the movie Ender's Game?
Yeah, I know Ender's Game.
Yeah, he wrote that book, and it's actually like a 9 or 12 book series now.
Wow.
It's really good. He's a fantastic writer. I'm really surprised at some of his political beliefs, but that's another story I don't want to get into. I'm working my way towards the sequel to The Shining, totally blanking on the name. Dr. Sleep, thank you. Yeah, that's my next book that I'm looking forward to reading. And then it's tied with the sequel to Zomburbia, which I'm also blanking on the name. Zomburbia is this wonderful zombie tale that's told that takes place in Salem, Oregon. It's written by a local author named Adam Gallarado. Might be pronouncing it wrong. Anyways, he did some Star Wars comic books for Dark Horse back in the day before Disney took over Marvel. in Star Wars. And it's a really interesting book. It's kind of like a coming of age story. Like what would it be like to be a teenage girl, and the aftermath of the zombie apocalypse. And it's a fascinating book. And so like I'm trying to decide if I'm gonna read that one or Doctor Sleep next. There's a good chance I'll attempt to read both at the same time.
That's ballsy.
Kind of manic when I read.
All right, well then I'm gonna toss the ping pong ball over to Ed. The same question to you. You had some time to think about this, so that's good.
Last comic book I read, I think it was Katrina Hates the Dead. One of the ones I got in a groupie. I have several other titles in there to read, but Katrina Hates the Dead. I think it's Wannabe Press, and it's pretty fun title. I'm interested to see where it goes. And I think last novel I read, or actually I'm in the middle of reading, is Fool's Fate. That's I mentioned Robin Hobb earlier.
You did? Fantasy writer, correct?
Yes, and I started reading it a while back, and I just not been in a novel reading mood for a while. And also, this series, there's a whole plot line where one of the main characters has a wolf who is he's bonded to, and it is his companion. And I don't want to give anything away, but I have a pet we lost recently, and so it kind of like made me just put down the book for a while, and so I just haven't picked it back up yet. But it's one of my favorite. She's one of my favorite authors, and I'll get back to the series eventually.
Excellent. So next question. This was a late-breaking development in the Journey into Comics game today. Ed, tell me about your love for Doctor Who.
I'm a Doctor Who fan. I discovered Doctor Who when they released the revised series back in, was it 05?
Yeah, 05 with Eccleston.
Yeah, with Eccleston. And I had a roommate who was hardcore Doctor Who fan. He had all of the old, not all of them, because I don't think you can even get all of them, but he had a bunch of the old DVDs for all the old series episodes from the 60s and 70s. And so I was roughly familiar with it, but I didn't get into it till the new series. And I think David Tennant's probably my favorite Doctor. Haven't been able to get into Matt Smith too much, and we're about a season or two behind at this point. Wife and I watch it together, and so we've got to find time to binge watch, a season at a time.
I know how that is. You gotta the spousal agreement. Hey,
that's right.
We started this fucking show together. Don't you dare go on without me.
I think it took us 5 years to get through Lost because of that.
Just like, damn it, I wanted to binge watch all 10 seasons. She's like, one season a year, or maybe two, if we're lucky, No, I love Doctor Who. It's probably it's actually probably number 2 all-time favorite show behind The Flash. The Flash took over because I'm a huge comic book nerd, and it's phenomenal. But there's something totally charming and beautiful about the story of Doctor Who. I mean, I've seen the first 5 seasons of the new series so many times that I could pretty much verbatim recount every episode. But I agree in saying that David Tennant was my first exposure to Doctor Who. Shockingly enough, the first time I ever saw Doctor Who was the Human Nature Family of Blood 2-parter in season 3, where he's not even the Doctor. He's just John Smith.
Right.
And I'm like, what's up with this fucking guy? I don't, this, and I'm like watching going, this isn't really that entertaining. He's kind of droll. I'm kind of bored with this. And then
why do people like this?
And then the last 5 minutes, he outsmarts the Family of Blood. And you're just like, holy shit, this dude is boss. Like, he was hiding just because he felt sorry for him. And then he took him out. Like, Such good writing. Anyways, that's my nerddom. So now I'm going to take it. Ben, I'm not going to leave you left out. Are you a Doctor Who fan? Are you a Whovian?
I came on real late, as in like when Doctor Who finally showed up on Netflix. So just a couple years ago, when Matt Smith was on the air, I was watching, the first few seasons and just had so many just like emotional breakdowns watching the David Tennant series. There were so many powerful episodes. And then Matt Smith, he got robbed because that's when Moffat took over the show. And he's good at some things, but he has a hubris problem when it comes to Doctor Who.
I agree with that.
Moffat writes these insane episodes where the Doctor solves problems just out of thin air. Just, oh, we're having this problem. Oh, wait, I'm Doctor Who. Problem solved. And so Matt Smith just didn't get the same type of quality script that Tennant did. And he was a great Doctor. And I think there was a lot of potential in that series. I mean, even with those stories themselves, there's just too many episodes where it was like, nothing's happening. Oh, he solved a problem without any, adversaries or any difficulty. And there was no challenge. He was just like this uber Doctor Who. And so I had high hopes for the new Doctor. I can't remember the actor's name, and I really like him.
Peter Capaldi.
Yeah, Capaldi. God, he's brilliant as the Doctor. I love his Doctor.
Yeah.
But again, the series is just kind of lackluster. And they keep blaming the actors. This is something that really ticks me off. An actor can only do so good with the script and the director that he's given.
That's exactly true. It's funny that you say that. I will say that the first season of Capaldi as the Doctor, and there's no spoilers here, but it was slow.
I haven't seen the second season yet.
But the second season, this past year, all I'm going to tell you is this literally took me back to loving Doctor Who because they got their shit together and finally wrote some really quality stuff. And so. Capaldi was phenomenal. That's all I'm saying. Is just by the time you get to series 9, it's just top of the line, top notch writing. They utilize so many different parts of the Doctor's mythos to really flesh this character out and to see a lot of different neat sides of this character that we've never seen before. And then obviously Stephen Moffat stepping down. We're going to eventually get a new showrunner. Well, we have a new showrunner, Chris Chibnall. He was the guy that wrote Torchwood while Doctor Who was going on. If you've never seen Torchwood, that's an offshoot story.
I've seen the first season.
Torchwood is very dark and sad. The first 2 seasons are really, really sad. The fourth season, so it was like seasons 1 and 2, then they did Children of Earth, which was technically season 3, but it was only like 7 or 8 episodes. It wasn't very long. And then they did Miracle Day, which was a HBO or Showtime special for Torchwood, and it was really good. That was the last time they had any Torchwood, and it was absolutely phenomenal.
Yeah, I need to finish Torchwood.
Yeah, it's very sad. I mean, I'm just not...
It's hard to watch sometimes.
Absolutely. So...
My 18-month-old has joined us.
What's up, 18-month-old? Shout out to you.
You say hi.
Awesome. Oh, Journey into Comics fans are going to be like, yeah, the youngest child ever on the show.
That's my little Lincoln. He was, I joke about this, he was our surprise baby.
Surprise.
And my artist on Little Lincoln, my comic book, dared me to name him that, and somehow the wife went along with it. And so...
So it was jokes on you is what you're trying to say.
Yeah.
Because you're like, no one's going to let me fucking name my kid Lincoln. And your wife was like, yeah, that sounds like a great idea. Let's go with it. You're like, oh, damn it. Why did I do that? Mistake. I've made a mistake. Oh, you love him, though, and I'm sure that's That's an awesome. There's not a lot of people named Lincoln. That's a great name. So
Yeah, it's a good name, I think.
so word up to Lincoln. Anyways, back to the thick of it. Guys, is there anything else you want to talk about your Kickstarter before we wrap this up?
I'm going to talk about a different Kickstarter for a second.
You absolutely can not. No, yes, you can. Go ahead. Feel free.
So, one of my I'm a freelance graphic designer, right? I also have been getting into lettering comics, and I was approached by these creators who just started a Kickstarter to do the lettering on their book, and it's called Speak No Evil, issue number 1 by Kreger Comics. It's doing rather well, but it's not quite there yet. They still need $1,900 approximately. They got 20 days to go. So I want everyone to go to Kickstarter, drop $1 or more on Speak No Evil, because I really need the work.
Hey, man, that's what we love about Journey to Comics. That was fucking honesty. You're like, hey, I need it. Let's do this.
It is a really fun story though, and the art is just awesome and hilarious.
Well, if the math serves me correct, and I've been known to sleep and not have good memory, you said there's about 20 days left.
Yep.
About $1,900 left to raise.
That's what it looks like.
So about $100 a day?
Yeah.
Not impossible.
Not much. No.
Not impossible at all. Not by any stretch of the imagination. They just got to keep pushing. You can let those guys know, man, I'm not even going to pretend. They can come on Journey into Comics and plug their stuff anytime. They're good people by you. They're good people by us, you know, so you need to let them know that. That is definitely something we can discuss before their Kickstarter's up. But first and foremost, we want to get your guys' Kickstarter kicking ass.
Yes.
You know, April 19th, man.
April 19th.
My birthday. It's going to be a great 29th birthday. I'll be dropping some bones your way. Will that launch midnight, April 19th, like into the morning, or is it? Is it preset schedule?
Noon, wasn't it, Ed?
I think we were going to do noon.
Noon. I like noon. I might be up by noon.
Yeah, most people are awake by then. They're on their lunch, you know.
And
they just got their tax money back. They need to spend it.
just so everyone knows, the URL is going to be fund.blacksuitofdeath.com. So fundblacksuitofdeath.com, and that will redirect to the Kickstarter once it's live.
Excellent. And like I said, people are going to get that on Journey into Comics all this week, all next week. Plug in your guys' social medias and such. Let's talk about your social media. You guys got BLK Suit of Death on Twitter. You can go to Black Suit of Death on Facebook, I do believe.
Yep.
Yeah, I think it's just Facebook / I think it's just Black Suit of Death.
And then is there a secondary Facebook page like Black Suit of Death Book?
There's Warrior Innkeeper Creative on Facebook.
There we go.
There's type in Warrior Innkeeper, you'll find me. Though I'm really picky about who I friend.
He still hasn't friended me, and he's been on the show twice.
Work account, so a little pickier about who I friend. And then, of course, there's blacksuitofdeath.com, right, Ed?
Yep. And that you can find pretty much everything else from there.
Now, and do you guys have Black Suit of Death Instagram?
I don't think we're on Instagram. I think I did set up a Tumblr, although I don't think I have anything on there yet.
Yeah, I have a Tumblr, and I haven't done anything with it either.
Hashtag Black Suit of Death was here.
I think I have, 4 or 5 Twitter accounts for various things, and I think you reach a point where I just can't manage any more social media. So
it's really difficult to do, honestly.
It's time-consuming.
Very much so. Yeah, only so many hours in the day. You guys are creative people as it is. So to take time away from being creative to go, hey, let me plug my shit and say you should go here.
Well, some of our extra accounts are kind of fun to do. So the Black Suit of Death is, it's a universe. It's a whole universe. We have a couple warring fast food restaurants on Twitter. Psychic Taco and Pizza Before You Order often outlandishly bash each other on Twitter every now and then. And those are actually restaurants that are featured in the comic book.
That's awesome.
And so we do some weird roundabout marketing through them. And that's actually a lot of fun, and we get a little creative there, too.
Because we can just, it's fun. You can just post pictures of tacos and talk about tacos, and it gets a little break from talking about one subject all the time. So,
and fun. Who the hell doesn't like tacos?
That's
exactly.
right.
Man, I fished tacos last night. That's not even a joke. They were delicious. It made my whole entire night. All right, well, let me just say, first and foremost, thank you both for coming on. Ben, it was a pleasure talking to you again. Ed, you're welcome on this show anytime you feel like it, and that's open invitation. You guys are fueling us. This is episode 90 of Journey into Comics. We are literally 10 away from 100, which is...
That is amazing.
Oh, it's crazy. I mean, this is a journey 2.5 years in the making, and when I started this thing, I really didn't think I would get past, like, episode 5, because it was more for me and not for anyone else.
Right.
So, here we are. We're 10 away. June 3rd looks like to be when we're going to actually hit episode 100, and there's a whole big thing. I guess I could partially announce it here, but there's this event called Villains Con. We're going to probably be doing a live 100th episode from Villains Con.
You're going to be minions there?
I don't know if there's going to be minions. There's going to be lots of different people.
There's a movie I've seen 100 times.
Oh, Despicable Me or Minions?
Minions.
Oh,
all 3 of them, really.
I didn't see Minions. I saw Despicable Me 1 and 2, and I liked them both. I thought they were very cute, but I never got to the Minions thing. I thought that was definitely just for the kiddies, you know.
It's mostly for the kids, yeah.
I was going to say something, and then my brain just... Oh, at Villains Con, let me announce this. Psycho Stick will be performing. Deanna Troi from Star Trek The Next Generation will be there. The first Jason Voorhees, not Kane Hodder, the guy that played the first Jason at the end of the first movie, will be there. A lot of different special guests, but they're putting it on us to do some kind of live podcast. So
that's amazing.
Hopefully that actually ends up happening. I tend to hold my breath with events like that because you get told one thing and then things might not come through, but I'm hoping that does. I think it'd be a great experience to do a live Q&A with our audience, play some games, talk some bullshit.
Sweet.
So for just again, guys, like I said, I'll just say it a million times. Thank you so much for all of our listeners. If you haven't already fallen in love with the idea of Black Suited Death, go do some fucking research. These guys know what they're talking about. They're very creative people. This book is going to be awesome. I cannot wait. April 19th, your Kickstarter will drop. Ben, thank you again so much.
You're welcome. Thank you for having me on the show.
No problem. Ed, thank you as well, man.
Thank you.
All right, guys. Well, this was an episode of Journey to Comics. Like I said, we're nearing 100, so next time you hear us is 91. We'll talk to you guys later. Ben and Ed, thank you one last time. Go check out Black Suited Death, folks, and we'll check you guys later.